Find out what's on your mind. Find out what questions you've got. If you've got any questions for me, anything on the board at all. I'm running against a woman, Tammy Duckworth, who won't get out. So it's the exact opposite. I think this is the best way to run a campaign. I also think this is the most important election in your life, and you can't even vote yet. That's how important this election is. So we need to find out, every candidate this year should find out where people stand. It's the least we can do. So, no formal rules when we do this. Order something, cup of coffee, order something. But then the only rule we always have is respect every opinion in the restaurant. Okay? Respect everybody's opinion. Let's stay respectful, and we'll have a really interesting next hour. You with me, Molly Callahan?
Absolutely.
That's my new favorite name in the world. Joe Walsh has just fallen in love with Molly Callahan. Oh my God, Helene. Woo. All right, who's got a thought? Who's got a question about anything?
I noticed the things you've listed down here are all negatives. How are you going to combat this?
Let's see what this is. Joe Walsh is proud of Paul Ryan's budget. Joe said he was proud to vote for Paul Ryan's budget, which would give more tax breaks to millionaires, raise taxes on middle-class families. It's going to gut Medicare and Social Security. Welcome, folks. Eliminate millions of American jobs and destroy Pell Grants for 1 million students. Probably not written by a friend of mine. And not at all true. But this is what makes politics really interesting. Look, here's a couple things everybody in Washington knows. Everybody in Washington, from Obama to Walsh, knows two things. Our country is broke. We're beyond broke. And if we don't do something about this debt, pretty soon, the country we're going to, what's your name? Timothy? The country we're going to hand over to Timothy, he'll never forgive us for. So shame on any Republican or Democrat that doesn't get serious and do something about that debt right now. The second thing every Republican and Democrat in Washington knows is this thing we call Medicare. One program, Medicare. It will be gone in 12 years unless we do something to it. Every Republican and Democrat knows that. If we just leave it alone and don't do anything to it, it won't be there for my generation. No way will it be there for Timothy's generation. So, to say, let's not do anything about Medicare, which is what President Obama's saying, which is what Tammy Duckworth's saying, just don't do anything about it, is to let it die. I don't want to do that.
You know what they're saying?
Yeah, yeah. So, everybody in Washington knows those two things. The Senate, you got three different groups of people in Washington. You got the Senate, which is run by the Democrats. You've got the White House, President Obama, and you got the House, which is run by the Republicans. We all know those two things. What does the Senate do? Well, they don't even put forth a budget. 3 years, they've never even done a budget. So they don't even count. Because they know the country's broke. They know Medicare's on the road to bankruptcy, and they don't put anything forward. They don't even have a plan, so they don't count. The president comes forward with a budget about 6 months ago. Yeah, but even more important than that, the president puts forth a budget that nobody in the Senate or the House votes for, Republican or Democrat. But more important than that, the president gives us a budget which never, ever, 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 ever balances. And by the way, he knows the country's broke. Shame on him. The president also gives us a budget which doesn't even talk about Medicare. Shame on him. So, along come the House Republicans, and they say, you know what? The country's broke. Medicare is going to be broke. I know politically that if we say something about that, the Democrats might try to hit us. They might try to scare seniors. But my God, it's the right thing to do. So the Republicans put forth a plan. Just put forth a plan. Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. The only adult in town, because they actually put forth a plan to address the country's debt, and you may not agree with what they said. They finally put forth, the only ones to put forth the plan to try to save Medicare, and you may not agree with what they propose to do. But always remember, guys, nobody else in Washington, besides the House Republicans, have put forth any plan to address the debt we're placing on Timothy's head and to address the fact that Medicare will be gone in 12 years. So yes, I give the Republicans in the House a lot of credit for having the courage, and it takes courage, because look what the other side's going to do. Seniors, and Molly, you're not there yet. Seniors, the Democrats are going to try to scare you. It takes a lot of courage to say, you know what? I don't care if politically this hurts us. We as a country need to finally do what's right. As a country, we have to live within our means. As a country, we have to take care of our debt. As a country, we need to preserve these programs for future generations. Not to do so is wrong and shameful. I'll stop there. Other thoughts, issues, questions?
I see the EPA got smacked down again by the appellate court this week. And I'm curious to know what this stuff even gets as far as the court. I mean, again, we've addressed this before. We always seem to be on defense. They keep fouling it out, and if they win 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, that's fine. I mean, where's the defunding of some of these departments? Why do they keep getting away with this stuff?
Rick, my hope is heaven forbid if President Obama wins a second term. I think one thing we know is there's a lot he wants to do if he's not constrained by another election. And I think when it comes to the EPA and some of the other government agencies, he's just going to let them loose. So if he wins another 4 years, I think then you're going to see House Republicans react pretty strongly. You're not going to see that right now because an election's 2 or 3 months away. But so much of what the EPA has done in these other agencies in really stifling businesses, my hope is you'll see Republicans start to fight back and stand up for small businesses if we have to after the election. And if Mitt Romney's in the White House, he can undo a lot of these executive orders like that, which would be a great thing for businesses in this country. Because we believe, I believe, not everybody believes. Tammy Duckworth, who once again is filming me, Tammy, I wish we could get you out, just once. Tammy Duckworth, who's filming me again, doesn't believe. I believe that George built this business. What President Obama said a month and a half ago, and we all chuckled about it, you might have even chuckled about it. We all laughed about it. I didn't laugh, and it didn't surprise me. That's what he genuinely believes. He genuinely believes that government makes this country go, and government grows jobs. And the more government we can have, the more government we can get involved in George's business and businesses all over Rolling Meadows, the better. That's the antithesis of what this country's all about. This country is about a guy named George making this company go, and generally government stays out of his hair. And he can grow, and he can hire people, and he can make money and make a profit. Because we believe, I believe, making money is a great thing. Making a profit is a great thing. The better George does here, the better every single employee who works for George does. And the other side, Obama and Duckworth, they want to go after the guys and the gals that run businesses. Makes them feel good. The more they go after taxes on millionaires and people who make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, men and women who run small businesses, the more they're going after everybody who works at those small businesses. That's what Illinois is doing. Hats off to Illinois. We've become the least business-friendly state in the country. So what are businesses doing? They're trying to leave. They're trying to leave. They're trying to go to Wisconsin, Indiana, Iowa, where it's easier to do business, make money, and grow a business. Shame on Illinois. And we have to change that in Illinois. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Dan.
Welcome, Dan.
Just for the record, I did have breakfast before the meeting. It was a
Thank you.
cheese omelet.
How was it?
Delicious. It was delicious. It really was. Now, I'd like to address your concern about the deficit, which I share. But just for the record now, I believe in truth and disclosure. I'm a progressive. And, okay.
Hey, take pride in who we all are. Absolutely. Say your piece. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I'd like to offer a comparison, I'll be very brief too, between two budgets. Got the Republican budget, and there's also, as an alternative, and I'm not speaking the President's budget now, but the Congressional Progressive Caucus releases a budget concurrent with the other two, and what's unique about the progressive budget is that it demonstrates how the deficit can be eliminated in 9 years, by the year 2021. Okay? In contrast, the Republican budget would not eliminate the deficit until 2040.
2020, about 28 years, yeah.
Right, 28 years. So the point is, the progressive budget shows how it could be done if the will is there.
And in a nutshell, and then Tom, right?
Dan,
in a nutshell, how do they do it? And just so you know, before you get into that, Dan, in the House we vote on a lot of different budgets. The progressives have a budget. There's a group called the Republican Study Committee, which is a conservative group in the House, which also presented a budget that balances in 9 years, and I supported that. I give the House Progressive Caucus a lot of credit because they actually have things they believe in, and they're not afraid to espouse those beliefs, and they literally they walked the walk, and they said, here's how we can balance the budget in 9 years. I give them a lot of credit for doing that. So in essence, how do they say we could balance the budget? Or we should?
okay, well of course, part of their proposal is something that I know that you and probably a lot of the folks here are in philosophical disagreement with. And that means raising taxes on those who can most afford to pay them. And for multi-billionaires and millionaires, there would be additional tax brackets. Now, in addition to that, they suggest taxing dividends.
Keep going, Dan.
They suggest taxing dividends at the same rate as ordinary income. And this is basically the way it's been throughout most of our history.
Dan, say that last part again.
Okay, taxing deficits as ordinary income, or close to it.
Dividends.
Before 2003, the tax rate for dividends was 25%, if I'm not mistaken, as opposed to 15% now. And there's no evidence that I'm aware of that having a higher tax rate for dividends affected investments. I mean, this was a prosperous time.
Wrap this up, Dan, because I want to hear from others.
Okay, so that's one point. That's one point. Another is cutting the military. There's a lot of waste that can be cut without jeopardizing our safety.
Yes.
But it would mean that we could no longer function as the world's nation builders, which I think has gotten us into a lot of trouble.
You and I agree on that. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.